So, Fat Bear Week at Alaska's Katmai National Park has become an unlikely internet phenomenon in recent years, and people from all over the world now vote for the animal they think has packed on the most pounds ahead of hibernation.
This year's results are in. The winner is number 32, also known as Chunk, who, despite having a broken jaw, managed to gorge on enough salmon to tip the scales at more than 500 kilos. So if you want to know what Chunk looked like in July, there was Chunk. Oh, and this is what he looks like now. To tell us more is Chris Morgan, bear ecologist and host of the nature podcast, The Wild. Chris, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I understand why the bears need to bulk up, but we're not fat-shaming bears here, are we?
No, it's a very important time of year for them. They're about to head into hibernation, so they're just eating as much as they can as possible. They're just eating machines at the moment. They're in this phase called hyperphagia, which means excessive eating. And so they physiologically can't get full. They don't know when they're full, so they just keep eating. And there it's a good place to do it because there's lots of salmon in that national park in Alaska.
So they never know when they're full?
Well, this chemical is suppressed in their body that tells them and the rest of us when we're full, and they just keep on eating. And at this point, they're eating 4,000 calories per fish, and they can eat dozens of those fish every single day. So it's quite unimaginable, the number of calories that they take on. I did a quick calculation earlier on, and it's about 100,000 calories a day. So that'd be about, like us eating about 300 Snickers bars in a day. And they do it every day for weeks, sometimes months, 3 months of the year, to get to this massive point now, the size that Chunk was at 550 kilos. An absolute giant of a bear. And I've seen bears like this in Katmai National Park quite a lot. I've spent a lot of time around them. And they're a real presence. I'm not a small guy. I'm 6'4" myself, 225 pounds. So Chunk is effectively about 5 of me, and I don't lose sight of that when I'm around these bears.
Morning to you, Chris. It's Charlie here in the studio. So I'm old-fashioned. I still think in stones. So
Yes.
my sort of base calculation is 500 kilograms is it about 80 stones? Is that right?
80. I don't know that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm in the States, so we're talking pounds.
Yes.
So I've not done the stones for a long time.
Okay, so
yeah.
but do you know where does Chunk sit in relation to the biggest bears there have ever been? I'm assuming he's right up there, isn't he?
He's right up there. Yeah, there was a bear on the coast of Katmai National Park, not far away from where these bears are, that I hung out with for several months. And I named him Van, after Van Gogh, the artist, because half of his ear was missing from a big fight that he got into. And he was probably 1,500 pounds. They don't get much bigger than that. I mean, they're absolute monsters in that part of the world. And it's all because these salmon are flooding into this watershed every year. And the bears know it. There's a little river where the Fat Bear Week is. It's only 1.5 miles long between two lakes. And these fish flood in, about 50 or 60 million of them, into this watershed. And they go into one lake and they try to get upstream to another lake. And it's this 1.5 mile river. And that's where the bears are. So these fish are sort of running the gauntlet up into this lake where the fish are trying to spawn. And the bears know it. So if you want to put massive fat on very quickly, that's the river to be on. And so it's incredible to watch. And that's the only reason they get this big. I mean, we've got bears in Spain and Italy that are the same species as these brown bears in Alaska, but they're about a quarter of the size, like Euro grizzlies, I call them. So these brown grizzly bears in Alaska are among the biggest in the world. They don't get much bigger than this. And it's largely
Chris,
because of this.
We've got the confirmation. I think it's 78 stone, if you do think in stone, 78 stone. And Chris, are they, when they get to that size, I know bears are surprisingly mobile, aren't they? They are quick on their rather large feet. Are these really big ones also agile?
You know, it's funny, back to Van that I was watching, he was around the same size and perhaps a little bigger even than Chunk. I watched him break into a fast shuffle once, but it wasn't moving very fast. And it was an emergency in his case because he was chasing a female that he was trying to mate with for a few weeks. And we followed this bear as he was trying to mate this female. Another bear came into the scene and he had to chase this bear off. So they can run very fast, but by the time you get to the size of Van or Chunk, It's more of a quick shuffle, but a regular bear in top prime shape can keep up with a racehorse, 30, 35 miles an hour. But I'd like to see Chunk try and do that. It might be a little different for him at this time of year. But then by the time he comes out of the den in the springtime, he'll sleep all winter. He's putting all this fat on. By the time he comes out in the spring, he'll have lost up to half of his body weight. So he'll be a lot trimmer than he is now once he's slept it off this winter.
Chris, it's interesting you talk about, you know, when the bear was larger and was shuffling after the female. Are they seen as more attractive because they've eaten more, they're in better shape, they're better prepared? I mean, is that kind of a plus point for the females?
It could be, but it comes down to, you know, in a place like where the Fat Bear Week is, it all looks like a Disney World sort of scene, doesn't it? You know, lots of bears doing their thing, rolling around, eating fish, having a good time. But it's tense, and it's like a game of chess between them. And the females, we're beyond the breeding season now. That was in the spring and early summer. The females are looking out for the most dominant males, and sometimes it comes with size, but it's only because that size makes them stronger and meaner and easier to push off the other males, and the females see it and notice it and they're sort of attracted to it, you know. So it works to be a big bear if you're a male trying to attract a female, for sure. But then some of the younger, nimbler ones can get in on the action as well when they're not quite as big as someone like Chunk. So, yeah, it's across the scale, really. I think the fascinating thing is that these bears are all real individuals, you know. Every one of these bears in this Fat Bear Week competition, they're as different as any 10 or 12 people you might come across, you know. So they're highly intelligent, highly focused on what they're doing. And they each have different strategies. So when you see them at the falls there, they've each got a game plan, and they're all sort of separated out at the waterfalls, waiting to catch their fish. And they know who the dominant bears are. They know who the submissive ones are. It's like a massive game of bear chess, you know. They're all sort of positioning and sort of like very tense. It's a tense world in the world of the bear. And there's a lot of people watching these bears on the ground in this place, and that can add to the tension sometimes. So it's another element to think about, you know, us respecting these bears and making sure they have the space they need to get the calories on to see them through the winter.
I tell you what, Chris, I have loved hearing about the bear chess and the food intake and all these facts, because it brings life to something that seems so remote to so many of us. Thank you so much, Chris Morgan,
You're so welcome.
ecologist in Washington, for us. Thank you.